The popularity of Isabel Bloom's sculpture has spanned over 5 decades. Its simple style and original design have made the art of Isabel Bloom some of the most recognizable and collected pieces in the country. Rich in texture and patina, filled with soul and inspiration, Isabel Bloom's sculptures beautifully portray the emotions of everyday life: joy, love, happiness, success, support, and even sorrow. The sculptures are appropriate for a wide array of special occasions, including birthdays, weddings, and anniversaries. Handcrafted by local talented artisans, each piece takes 4 to 5 days to complete a one-of-a-kind work of art, treasured by collectors and gift-givers alike. Isabel Bloom was a woman who lived by her own advice: know what you want and follow it. Born in 1908, Isabel Scherer began modeling in clay as a young child. Creative and curious, she briefly studied painting at the Art Institute of Chicago before studying at the Stone City Art Colony under American master Grant Wood in the early 30s. It was there she met a gifted artist, John Bloom, who would later become her husband in 1938. Inspired by her experience at Stone City, Isabel continued her work. Her subjects ranged from animals and children to whimsical figures of mermaids and strong portrayals of women. Earlier in her career, she taught art classes, developed and conducted a storytime program at the Davenport Public Library, and was featured on a locally produced television show called Let's Look at Art. This led her to star in her own weekly children's program called Let's Make Believe, which she would tell a story, illustrating it with painted backgrounds and clay characters. This lasted several years. In the late 40s and 50s, Isabel began experimenting with her art, replicating the bronze sculpture of the Victorian era using a concrete or cast stone. She developed the technique of greening by mixing blue and green dyes with water and fine white powdered cement to resemble the bronze and green shades of Victorian garden sculpture she so admired. It was then when she developed her own technique, which is the same basic process still used by the company today. In recent years, the selection of finishes has expanded to include weathered bronze, green, vintage rose, garden moss rose, multicolor, and verdigris. While Isabel Bloom originated and established the business that continues in her name, the present and future is defined by the designs of Donna Young. Since Isabel's death in 2001, Donna has created a number of smaller versions of Isabel's designs, as well as produced designs that are uniquely her own. Donna's design process, like her education, is more traditional than Isabel's, using sketches, photographs, and live models, including her husband and 3 children. After the design has been complete, the next step is mold making. A first mold is formed by brushing the original clay sculpture with many thin layers of latex. Plaster is then hand applied over the latex, providing support for the detailed inner mold. Once cured, each Isabel Bloom mold is transported to the casting room, where a prepared mixture of cement, water, rock, and choice selections of color pigments are hand poured into the mold. Having set overnight, the concrete cast is taken from the mold and prepared for hand finishing. Each sculpture varies slightly in color and texture, so no two are ever alike. After the finishing process is complete, a clear resin is applied to each sculpture, excluding garden moss rose, providing a slight sheen that adds reflective qualities and surface protection. Finally, each completed sculpture is signed Isabel Bloom by a trained artisan, followed by the copyright symbol and the year of introduction of that particular design. USA is then added to assure you that any sculpture purchased in any of our Isabel Bloom stores was made right here by our own very skilled artisans. Isabel Bloom passed away on May 1, 2001, leaving a legacy of more than just sculpture. She was a wife and mother, an artist, and a teacher who taught the world to discover simple beauty in all things. Seek beauty in the ordinary, never take any small thing for granted. In keeping with her heritage, new designs are introduced each year at Isabel Bloom. Although many designs are done as inspirations, other suggestions are taken from customers, employees, management, and design group. Once the design has been approved, sculptures are then produced and released according to a seasonal or event-based schedule. The sculptures are given as gifts to express friendship, support, and love. Many individual sculpture collections are started by a gift from a friend or a loved one. Collectors range from children to great-grandparents, and in many families, giving and receiving Isabel Bloom sculptures has become a tradition spanning generations. The artisans from Isabel Bloom thank you for visiting us today. We know you will be intrigued by the creative process and handcrafted technique that goes into the making of an Isabel Bloom sculpture.